Every time I post a repair, the comments say the same thing. Just replace the whole wall so the repair doesn't show. But true restoration pros do the exact opposite. We master blending a patch into the existing layout. It saves massive time, cuts costs, and frankly, insurance only pays to fix what the flood actually destroyed. I've spent over 10 years specializing strictly in patch matching. Here are the 5 exact techniques to make a deep flood cut completely disappear. Let's get into it. Technique 1. Decoding the pipe wall. Most guys panic when a single patch has a gas line and a dryer vent, or a cluster of plumbing. The secret is breaking it down into a simple grid. First, measure your length and width so your vertical joint breaks perfectly on the center of a nearby stud, ensuring solid backing. Cut the piece to size and bring it right into your work zone. This allows you to quickly transfer the exact pipe measurements between the wall and the drywall panel with zero guesswork. Measure down from your finished top edge and out from your nearest side to find the exact center points. Punch a clean 1-inch hole with a spade bit for the gas line. Scribe and score the dryer vent with a circle cutter and blow it through with your hammer. For the laundry sink plumbing on the left, you're dealing with 3 tight penetrations: the hot line, the cold line, and the drain cleanout where your P-trap connects. To avoid cutting massive, ugly holes that ruin your backing, slice the sheet strategically so one half drops over the pipes from above and the other lifts up from below. Make sure both halves land on solid wood, track your pipe paths so you don't drive a screw into a water line, and flush the panel tight to the existing wall. Technique 2. Production mud and hand taping workflow. Taping a massive flood cut by hand requires a smart material choice and a tight workflow to keep from overexerting yourself. I'm using a Hamilton Beach hand mixer from Walmart, a killer viewer recommendation that saves your arms from manual mixing. I start with 1 quart of water and add quickset until it reaches a perfectly smooth, heavy cream consistency, making sure to wipe excess mud off my tools and mixer while it's wet instead of fighting it later. For this run, I timed my workflow to tape all the verticals and horizontals using a single bucket of 45-minute hot mud. If you are trying this, I highly recommend mixing up 90-minute mud instead. It gives you twice the working time to coat without rushing. Once the main lines are embedded, I mix a fresh batch and head back to the start to hit the angles. On this project, almost every angle is 24 inches tall. To maximize speed, I pre-cut and pre-creased all my paper tape, placing them right in the corners ahead of time. This allows me to focus purely on embedding the tape cleanly and efficiently without constantly reaching for a roll. Taping this entire job by hand took me just about an hour. I strongly recommend that Hamilton Beach hand mixer. At the time of this video, it only costs $20, and I'd say it easily paid for itself on the very first day of use. Technique 3. The flush plane corner splice. Splicing into an existing corner bead usually means a total nightmare of ripping out old, nailed-on metal and coating the entire wall. Instead, we can get a flawless result with 0 tear-out. I cut a 2-foot replacement piece of square metal bead and tuck a 7-inch piece of scrap bead halfway behind the existing nailed-on piece to act as a hidden bridge. But before driving any screws, I mock up the new piece over that bridge to look down the line. This is where you check the alignment. If it doesn't line up with the old bead, simply bend the angle of the metal slightly to push the corner further out, or flatten it to pull it closer to the wall. Once the plane is perfect, I fasten it down. If you struggle to get your screws to bite through the layered metal, just use your hammer to lightly punch a starter point first. As you tighten everything up, that hidden metal bridge smashes together, acting as a perfectly flat, structural splice that makes mudding a breeze. Technique 4. The steps knife trick. To make this large repair completely disappear without a massive hump, you need to feather your edges, which just means blending the mud so thin at the outside borders that it vanishes into the existing wall. Because the old wall is already thicker from years of paint, leave a fraction more mud on the new drywall side to level the playing field. Then, let your tools do the math. I embed my tape with a 6-inch joint knife. Once that dries, I apply the next layer with a 10-inch knife. For the final smooth layer, I step up to a 12-inch knife, extending the pull 2 inches past the previous line on both sides. This automatic widening naturally tapers the compound outward, giving you a perfectly flat plane with a fraction of the effort and almost zero sanding. Technique 5. Decoding and replicating hand textures. Matching an existing texture is usually the most stressful part of a patch job. To get it right, look closely at the existing wall and practice replicating its pattern on a test piece first. While some textures are intuitive, others require you to get creative. This artisan Mediterranean look is a highly popular hand texture in my area, and the secret to matching it is working in a disciplined, stepwise fashion. I mix the mud to a pancake batter consistency, load a 6-inch knife, and skip it onto the wall, connecting my passes side by side as I work downward. Once a section is covered, I scrape excess mud off the heavy areas and use it to fill in the large, open voids. This prevents heavy buildup, so it knocks down evenly, while giving the skip an organic look that grabs light uniformly. To finish, I lightly flatten the sharp ridges with a large knife and let it dry. Bonus tip: how to prep and paint a flood cut. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I've got one last bonus technique to guarantee your paint job turns out absolutely perfect. Once your texture dries, sand it with 180 grit paper and use a damp sponge to melt and feather the edges into the existing wall. Next, thoroughly sweep off all the residual dust and caulk the internal corners for a clean, sharp border. For the finish, I go straight in with a high-quality paint and primer in one. On the first pass, I only paint the raw drywall area to prime the fresh mud. Once that dries, I go back for the second pass, cutting in and rolling each wall entirely from corner to corner, one at a time. This ensures the texture and sheen catch the light identically across the whole surface, making your hard work 100% invisible.